Good evening. It's Monday, March 2nd. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. New cases and new deaths. That's how the coronavirus story is developing across the country tonight. Washington health officials announced 3 new deaths there, bringing the total in the U.S. to 6, all in that state. Tonight, we have a look at the local concerns, including a run on supplies. But first, Karen Kafa updates us on the national response.
As cases of the novel coronavirus continue to spread, U.S. health officials say to expect that trend to continue.
Unfortunately, this is something that we expected. Whenever you have a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible, you're going to get community spread, and it's going to become difficult to pinpoint the source of each and every infection.
But they are also encouraging people to prepare and not to panic.
The risk to individuals from novel coronavirus right now is low. If you are healthy, then in most cases, you'll have a mild illness that will be like a bad cold or a flu. You'll feel bad for a few days, but you will recover.
This as local governments and health officials take over testing to try and get a handle on what an increasing number of cases diagnosed across the country could mean. From New Hampshire,
it is an all-hands-on-deck effort,
to New York.
We want to get our testing capacity as high as possible.
To Washington State, where health officials announced more coronavirus deaths Monday.
This is a complex and unprecedented challenge, locally, nationally, and globally.
President Trump also met with members of the coronavirus task force and pharmaceutical executives at the White House Monday to discuss the disease and the search for a vaccine. In Washington, Karen Kafa, KPBS News.
Another group of people who spent time quarantined on a military base in California are free tonight. Today, about 140 people were loaded onto buses and taken to airports in Sacramento and San Francisco. 2 weeks ago, they were flown to Travis Air Force Base in Northern California. Their experience was much like what we saw at Miramar just last month. The group was on a cruise ship near Japan before they were brought to the U.S. Health officials say they showed no symptoms of the virus, and they'll get follow-up care in the days ahead. And last week was the worst since 2008 for Wall Street, all due to coronavirus fears. We saw the largest point drop ever of the Dow, but today, just the opposite. The Dow gained more than 1,200 points. That's the largest single-day point gain in history at about 5%. Investors are encouraged that central banks will take steps to shelter the global economy from the coronavirus. With the death toll and confirmed cases of the coronavirus rising in the U.S., many Americans are preparing for the worst. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar explains what to do and what not to do.
Across the United States, stores like Home Depot, Rite Aid, Lowe's, CVS, and Walgreens are all reporting shortages of products like hand sanitizer, disinfectants, and face masks due to the coronavirus. Here in San Diego, Dr. Abby Olulade at Sharp Reese Steely says people shouldn't be rushing to stores to buy masks.
The surgical masks don't protect against the coronavirus, and you definitely don't need one. In fact, what we're finding is that when people put their hands to their face to adjust their masks, you're actually putting yourself at more risk potentially.
There have also been reports of face mask suppliers price gouging online. Despite this, medical experts say there is no need to hoard medical supplies.
Because there's no information that we've gotten about shortages in general, you shouldn't stockpile or worry about stockpiling things unless you might be quarantined for 14 days, which is, what we recommend. But in general, nobody needs to go out and rush to buy things in the store, so try not to panic.
In general, they recommend to wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, and wipe down common areas with household disinfectants. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
San Diego's colleges are closely following the coronavirus news and reevaluating their study abroad programs. UC San Diego, SDSU, and USD all send students to countries that are dealing with outbreaks. In some cases, programs are being scrapped as a precaution. We'll hear from local universities about what this means for their students a little bit later in the newscast. It's the shakeup before Super Tuesday. In the past 24 hours, 2 prominent Democrats have dropped out of the race. This morning, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar announced she would no longer compete. Pete Buttigieg decided to drop out Sunday night despite winning the Iowa caucus. He was planning a campaign event in Chula Vista before he made his decision. Both Klobuchar and Buttigieg are now endorsing Joe Biden. The former vice president easily won the South Carolina primary this weekend. And the primary season really ramps up tomorrow. Super Tuesday is the biggest day of the primary season. 14 states and American Samoa will cast their vote. Democrats living abroad will also begin a one-week voting period. The biggest prize is right here in California. Recent polls show Senator Bernie Sanders with a significant lead among Democrats. And we hope you'll join KPBS on election night. We will have special coverage of tomorrow's results with an hour-long show starting at 10 p.m. Our coverage will be simulcast on KPBS Radio, and you can also stream live at kpbs.org. If you're still putting your ballot together, get some help with KPBS Voter Guide. You can enter your location and you'll be able to sort through all of your local races and your ballot measures. You can then save your picks to create a list for when you're ready to vote. We have a link to the KPBS Voter Guide on our homepage at kpbs.org.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, a health emergency is declared in states where the coronavirus is spreading in the U.S. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And the Trump administration is accused of placing misleading information on climate change in official documents, and that's according to a report by the New York Times. It details 9 documents in which language debunking climate change was included by the Department of Interior, which manages federal land. The department has not commented on the report. Meanwhile, a new study looks at the effect rising sea levels will have on coastlines around the world. It's published in the journal Nature Climate Change. It suggests beaches could retreat by more than 300 feet around the world by 2021 if emissions that cause climate change are not reduced by then. A researcher working with the San Diego Zoo worries Australia's recent wildfires may be hurting the country's platypus population. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson says the wildfires have damaged the animal's natural habitat.
Australian ecologist Josh Griffiths worries the country's massive wildfires may have caused serious harm to the country's platypus population. Griffiths says megafires have evaporated some smaller streams and fouled larger rivers in the fire zone. Fire ash has also found its way into pristine habitats downstream. The accumulation of ash hurts the bug populations that platypuses eat, and that could in turn hurt the animals. Ecologist Josh Griffiths says the environmental fallout could persist, and that's bad for the animals that depend on a riparian habitat.
I guess it's already persisted for at least several weeks at the moment, and that would probably be enough to really impact the macroinvertebrates and the bugs that form the food supply of platypuses. Their food supply is going to be impacted, and therefore, the animals just aren't going to be able to survive in those areas.
Griffiths is working on an accurate population count for the elusive animal, research that's funded in part by the San Diego Zoo's Australia Relief Fund. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The storm that brought rain to our area is moving out, and that means tomorrow should be sunny and a bit warmer. Marvin Gomez has our forecast.
Hope you're having a great start of your work week. Thanks for staying with us here on KPBS News. I'm AccuWeather's Marvin Gomez, and here are your weather highlights. As we take you into the next couple of hours all the way through Tuesday afternoon, it's still going to be breezy in a couple spots. We have a small craft advisory, which will expire tonight at 9 p.m. And as we transition into your Tuesday, it is going to get much warmer across our area. Taking a look at our satellite and radar in the last couple of hours, clouds have been around, and of course we have seen some of that spotty activity across the higher terrain on the southern part of the state. Heading into tonight, it is going to be clear out there. We are looking at lows near 41 degrees for Escondido. Over in Oceanside, temperatures cooling down to 40 degrees. Mount Laguna, 33 for your low tonight. Here's a big picture for our Tuesday across the southwest. We have a high pressure system in place, and that's going to bring sunshine for most of California. And once again, those temperatures will be between 5 and 10 degrees warmer than they were today. Looking at some of our wind gusts, though, again, keep in mind it's going to be a little bit breezy tomorrow. San Diego dealing with some wind gusts perhaps that could go over 15 miles per hour. In the meantime, Mount Laguna looking at 30-mile-per-hour winds. And even farther up north along the coast, San Clemente at 35 miles per hour. Some of those peak wind gusts for tomorrow afternoon. Speaking of tomorrow, here are your temperatures looking at a high of 71 in San Diego. Oceanside coming up to 72 degrees. Plenty of sunshine for everyone to enjoy. Your AccuWeather forecast along the coast, noticing those quiet conditions for the next couple of days in terms of what we're going to have for each and every single afternoon. 68 for your high on Wednesday. Inland areas also coming up into the 70s for most of the week. A couple more clouds for Thursday and also into Friday. Across the mountains, we are in the 50s, mostly sunny skies for tomorrow, Wednesday. Clouds will be returning for Thursday and Friday. And across the deserts, we are dealing with temperatures in the 80s on Tuesday. Mostly sunny skies for the next couple of days.
More now on tomorrow's Super Tuesday primary election. Many have decided to vote early at new satellite voting centers opened across San Diego County. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live in Spring Valley at one of those new voting centers. Matt.
Maya, with record turnout expected for this election, the county is adding 4 of these new satellite voting locations across the county. Here is one of them. It's at the Spring Valley Community Center. This one's closed. It just closed at 5 p.m., but it'll open again tomorrow on Election Day from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. All right, looking inside these voting centers, people have to use these brand new touchscreen voting machines. These are a part of a $16 million upgrade of the county's voting system. Election officials are encouraging anyone who wants to vote but is not yet registered to go to one of these new satellite locations. Inside, there are staff ready to help people register and then vote. And depending on how busy it is, it will take just about 10 minutes. But on Election Day tomorrow, these voting centers are expected to be packed, so keep that in mind. People we talked to say this new location is quick and convenient, and the voting machines are easy to use.
Thought it was a breeze, you know. I'm a little bit up there in age right now. I don't know if you want me to tell my age, but anyway. I will. 69 years old, okay? And it was like easy as get on my iPad. It was touch and scroll to this, and I found who I was looking for on each page. They give a little definition above. I thought it was clear as the bell what to do. I didn't feel any kind of stress about doing it at all. You know?
About 10 minutes or less, 10 minutes tops for registering and voting. So far so good. You know, I got in, got out, and it's nice and smooth, easy transition, and nice service.
All right, now here's a look at some of these new satellite voting locations. There are 4 of them in total in the county, 1 in San Marcos, 1 in Spring Valley where we are, 1 in Chula Vista, and 1 in Carmel Mountain Ranch. Obviously, you have the registrar of voters there in Kearney Mesa as well. Now, on Election Day, each of these will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m., longer hours, so people coming from work have a chance to stop by too. Now, coming back out here live in Spring Valley, a lot of people we talked to today say the county should keep these locations just because they're really so easy and convenient to use. Now, majority of people are still going to be voting by mail. I had a chance to talk to the registrar of voters earlier today. He says there are still about 1 million of those mail ballots that have not yet been turned in. And it might be too late to put those mail ballots actually in the mail and get them to the registrar's office. So election officials are asking people, bring your ballot to one of these new voting locations, bring it to your polling place, bring it to the registrar or voter's office before sometime tomorrow, before 8 p.m. And now, I know some of you are going to say, I have work tomorrow, there's just no way I can vote, I can't get away from work. Well, we have a reason for you to go out and vote. There's a new California law that says basically you are eligible for up to 2 hours of paid time off to go out there and vote, so there's no excuse for someone not to get one of these tomorrow. Here in Spring Valley, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Some great information there. Thanks so much, Matt. Now, the Supreme Court will yet again take up a case that could jeopardize the Affordable Care Act. More than a dozen states are asking for a review of a federal ruling that struck down part of the law. At issue is the requirement that people have coverage or face a financial penalty. 20 million people have obtained coverage through the Affordable Care Act. The Supreme Court will likely hear the case in the fall, with a decision not coming until next year. A visit to the doctor can sometimes be an inconvenience. For example, what if you had to come back the next day because your test couldn't be done while you were there? Well, KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani says doctors have found an unconventional solution to a conventional problem in drones.
At the UC San Diego Health campus last week, a drone lifted into the air in a public demonstration. The hospital is testing out these 4-armed aircraft to see if they can speed up medical supply delivery among clinics.
My name is James Colleen. I'm a physician at UC San Diego Health. I specialize in both emergency medicine as well as urgent care services. These lab specimens that would get drawn from patients would take for hours to get to our central lab for processing.
Urgent care facilities and clinics typically don't have labs, so patients may have to wait days to get their lab results back. While hospitals have a tube system that uses air pressure to shoot samples to a lab within a hospital facility, clinics have to send samples by car, which can take hours.
So say there's a patient who has diabetes, high blood pressure, some heart disease, and they get labs drawn. And then several hours later, or the next day, you find out that they have worsening kidney function.
So Colleen thought, why not try a different vehicle to speed this process up? In fact, doctors already know whether these aircraft will work. That's because UC San Diego is the second hospital system in the country to legally try out drones under a Federal Aviation Administration pilot project. The first was WakeMed in Raleigh, North Carolina.
So I'm Stuart Ginn. I'm the medical director of WakeMed Innovation. Beginning with just a very simple metrics on the front end, for the one little modest route we've got in place and flying, when we're flying, we see significant increases or decreases in the amount of time.
WakeMed has been doing this for a year now and has a few drones going one route. Ginn says it's too early to tell what the impact is now at a small scale, but he thinks there will be an impact as the hospitals get more drones.
It's really opened our minds about how we can connect our facilities together as a healthcare system. And the implications of that are enormous.
Ginn says a network of drones could mean hospitals can consolidate some services and save money and patient time. But he says it's still a new technology, so getting there will take time.
This is out in people's communities. And you can get clearance to fly, but where do you land?
That's why WakeMed teamed up with the drone company Matternet and delivery service UPS to make sure these drones are safe and monitored. Mark Taylor is with UPS.
The aircraft itself is equipped with a parachute. It flies on a predetermined path. It's geofenced. If it deviates at all, the parachute goes off.
Taylor says federal regulators and manufacturers will be gathering data as these initial drone programs progress.
Can again fly farther with heavier payloads.
And Matthew Genocidas, Chief Innovation Officer at UC San Diego Health, says the hospital is embracing the drone project because it means innovation.
You need to take a leap of faith. You need to have a vision. So I think that's the biggest challenge, and that's what we're all about at UC San Diego. You know, this is a university, this is an academic setting. We're all about trying to figure out what's next.
He says the hospital will evaluate the drone study when it's over and decide from there whether to integrate the aircraft into the system.
I think if this technology is successful, not only in healthcare but all over, I think we're going to see a lot more drones.
UPS and Matternet officials say they hope to work with federal regulators to extend drones to more hospitals in the country. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
If you're planning a vacation, say for spring break, keep in mind that most travel insurance don't cover epidemics. In the majority of cases, once a virus is known, its presence is no longer what's referred to as an unseen event, and there's no related coverage. Some insurance companies explicitly state epidemics and pandemics as excluded reasons for canceling a trip. You can buy what's called cancel for any reason policies, but they can be pricey. Check with your travel agent. And due to coronavirus, the Center for Disease Control has issued level 3 travel warnings for China, South Korea, Iran, and Italy. A level 3 advisory means non-essential travel should be avoided. KPBS reporter Lynn Walsh spoke with local universities about what this means for study abroad programs in those countries.
We had some students that are in Rome right now that are doing a double degree program with one of our partners there, and they're actually supposed to be there for 4 semesters. and they just started. It's such a disappointment. And of course they can go back, and let's just hope that by the fall semester things will be settled down a bit and our students can still have these wonderful international experiences.
Denise Daimon is the Associate Provost for International Affairs at the University of San Diego. Due to the travel warnings, the university has had to cancel its study abroad programs in China, South Korea, and Italy. Daimon says the university is working with the students and their partners abroad to minimize any expenses caused by the early return to the States.
Parents and students are concerned about the finances and their academics, but unfortunately the thing that we can't fix, which is the most important thing to them, is that experience that they're now going to be missing.
In Italy, 19 students are being impacted, and Daimon says some students based in southern Italy have decided to stay abroad. All returning students will be able to complete their academic coursework back in the U.S. remotely. USD has canceled summer programs in China, but is still assessing summer and fall programs in other countries.
We follow the CDC guidelines, of course, absolutely. But we also want to be proactive, see how things are changing. And even just a week ago was very different than it is now.
Lynn Walsh, KPBS News.
Twitter is backing out of the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas because of the coronavirus outbreak. CEO Jack Dorsey canceled plans to speak at this month's festival, which draws hundreds of thousands of people from around the world. Twitter also announced in a blog post that all non-critical business travel and events have been suspended. And Twitter has faced criticism over its fake accounts, especially as the election season heats up. A 17-year-old was able to fool Twitter and create a fake congressional candidate account. Donnie O'Sullivan shows us how the teen got the account verified.
This is Andrew Walls. He's running for Congress in Rhode Island. See, it says so right here on his verified Twitter account. But what if I told you he isn't actually running for office? In fact, he doesn't even exist. The person behind this account is really a 17-year-old high school student.
I made a fake Twitter account and a website for a fake congressional candidate running in Rhode Island.
The student agreed to speak with CNN on the condition that his name not be used.
So in December, I made the fake website for the candidate. That took around 20 minutes to do, and then I made the Twitter account. That took maybe 5 minutes. And then I submitted all that information to a website called Ballotpedia. They're a nonprofit that has information on all the candidates running in elections in the US, and they partner with Twitter to identify candidates to verify on Twitter.
Ballotpedia told CNN it's working to improve how it verifies candidates before sharing them with Twitter. Even the picture of the guy who's supposed to be the candidate, he doesn't exist.
He doesn't exist at all, yeah. It's a picture generated from a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com, and it's a machine learning model that generates pictures of completely fake people.
Did you then go to Twitter and say, hey, verify me?
No, Twitter actually reached out to me. I didn't have to do anything to get Twitter's attention.
Twitter came to you and they said, hey, Andrew Walls, candidate in Rhode Island. We want to give you a blue badge.
Exactly.
That blue check mark means a lot. It's a sign of authenticity. It's supposed to mean Twitter has made sure the person is who their profile says they are. And that's especially important when it comes to elections. Since the 2016 US presidential election, Twitter has promised to combat the spread of election disinformation on its site, taking a number of steps. Verifying candidates is just one of the ways they're trying to do this.
We are, in an age where disinformation and misinformation is just everywhere. And when you are asking people to donate money to your campaign, donate their time and resources, just that extra layer of assurance is certainly important.
Janquelle Peters is actually running for Congress in Georgia, but Twitter hasn't verified her. In fact, other real candidates across the country have complained that Twitter hasn't verified their accounts. Peters' campaign has even tweeted at the company to try and get her verified. At least one of the people that you're running against, their account is verified. Do you think you're at a sort of unfair disadvantage here?
Being the only candidate in this particular race at this time who is not verified, may put me at a bit of a disadvantage. But when you're asking for money online and you want to put forward the best efforts you can, every little thing matters.
Twitter defended how it verifies candidates, calling it a rigorous process that sometimes results in a delay in approving candidates. After CNN contacted Twitter, it suspended the fake Twitter account and verified Peters.
Why make this account in the first place?
Spammers and people trying to spread misinformation to affect our election cycle could do this and have a mass misinformation campaign to actually affect our elections, confuse voters who the actual candidates are, and affect our democracy. If I could do this as a high schooler, imagine what a highly trained team of people doing this could do.
And that was Donnie O'Sullivan reporting. Now here's a recap of tonight's top stories. More people have died from the coronavirus in the U.S. All of the deaths are in Washington state, where health officials say 6 people have now died in recent days. At the national level, Congress says it's close to a bipartisan emergency spending deal. And on Wall Street, stocks had a record high day on news that central banks are likely to take steps to minimize the financial impact. Super Tuesday is now just hours away. The big headline today is a rally of support behind Joe Biden. He won in South Carolina over the weekend. Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg announced they're dropping out and are expected to endorse Biden at an event tonight in Texas. San Diego's polling places and satellite voting centers will be open until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And a reminder, KPBS will have special coverage on election night. You can watch, listen, or stream on all of our platforms. We'll bring you results and analysis of all the local races and the presidential race that starts at 10 p.m. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.